So good evening. Welcome to our capacity building program by the Kabarak University Innovation and Business Incubation Center. I would like us to start off with a word of prayer, and then we should be able to proceed with the rest of the training. Our Father in heaven, we thank you for a wonderful opportunity you've given to us, Lord, to meet this evening. We commit ourselves before you as we embark on this training. Lord, be with us, help us to understand and to participate in all the activities that are scheduled for this training. In Jesus' name, we pray and believe. Amen. So good evening. Let me hear some voices there.
Good evening.
Good evening too.
Yeah, great. Thank you very much.
Good evening.
Thank you. Good evening to you all. And it's great to hear your voices and to know that you've taken time to attend this training. So my name is Dr. Moses Dega. I'm the Director of Research, Innovation and Outreach at Kabarak University. And I'll be taking you through this first class and hopefully a few others going forward. I want to first take a few minutes to introduce the programs and to also introduce this course, to explain its aims, and then we'll proceed into the actual content of the course this day. So the innovation capacity building programs, just a minute there. I hope you can see my screen there. Confirm?
Yes, we can.
Thank you. So this capacity building program is brought to you by the Kabarak University Innovation and Business Incubation Center, which was established in the year 2021. And we have 5 objectives. One is capacity development for innovation and commercialization, sensitization and support for intellectual property protection, identification and incubation of innovations, organizing marketing and networking events, as well as resource mobilization for innovation and business incubation. Our first objective is what brings us to these capacity building programs this evening. We have 3 flagship activities in the center. The first is an internal innovation fund. We have the Central Rift Innovation Week, and we also have number 3, innovation capacity building programs. In our internal innovation fund, we are able to support innovators within the university for now to prototype the innovations, to protect them, intellectual property protection, as well as marketing and other activities that lead up to the commercialization of these innovations. The Central Rift Innovation Week is an event that we started off last year in 2023, and it's a networking event. It provides a platform for exhibition, for learning, and for networking. The second edition will be held this year in September, from the 11th of September, the whole week. More details are available on our university website regarding this particular event. What then brings us here today are the innovation capacity building programs. We have launched 2, and one started off on Tuesday, the introduction to innovation. And today we are looking at establishing and sustaining an innovation support system. The introduction to innovation program is meant to demystify innovation and different types of issues around the whole idea of innovation, such as intellectual property protection, prototyping, marketing, and etc. The program for today is establishing and sustaining an innovation support system. And I want to share a different document where I'll explain briefly what that particular program entails. So these details are contained in the poster that we circulated. So, allow me to share this. So the idea behind this program, the program that is now covering establishing an innovation hub, we have some background to this. We realized some time ago, last year, that a lot of innovators or innovation managers are given the task of running an innovation center, and yet they do not know much about what exactly an innovation center is. A lot of them end up operating cyber cafes and really not being able to quite offer value to the innovators that come to them. So it is important that anybody tasked with the business of running an innovation center understands what is an innovation center, understands the programs, the activities, the kind of staffing required in that center, and etc., in order to be able to achieve the aims of those centers. Sometimes even knowing what kind of center to establish is also an issue. So after establishment, we also have understood that not everybody knows how do we keep this going. Institutions may invest in the establishment of an innovation center, but may not quite know then how do we keep it going. Sometimes grants are the way to establish a center, but more often than not, grants are not sustainable. So therefore, it is important that as we start off with an innovation center, we need to know how do we keep it going, how do we generate a return on investment on this innovation center. So the objective, therefore, of this course that we are starting today is to be able to introduce innovation managers to fundamental concepts on how to establish and manage an innovation hub and an innovation process. We'll be looking through the following areas. One, today we do an overview of innovation. We have also established that not everyone given the task of running an innovation center actually also understands what is innovation. We look at the types of innovation hubs, what kind of services are offered by these hubs, how to establish one, how to manage innovation projects, how to develop capacity and competencies and skills, how to generate revenue for an innovation center, how to establish collaborations and partnerships, how to know when you're doing well, when you're not doing well, in other words, performance indicators. And lastly, we'll discuss why innovation hubs fail, because they do fail. So we want to go through that. So this particular course is targeted at people who are either running an innovation hub or those who are intending to run an innovation hub. The other course, which some of you have also enrolled in, the Introduction to Innovation, is essentially targeted towards then what is innovation, how to identify commercially viable ideas, how to prototype, how to protect intellectual property, developing a business model. What are these hubs? How do you monetize IP? How do you market? How do you mobilize resources? And being investment ready. If you find time, it is highly advisable that you attend both courses, but nevertheless, you're welcome to pursue this one that you have chosen. We'll deliver this course through webinars, like what we are doing here, discussion forums. I'll introduce you to that shortly, and quizzes. We are offering it free of charge, and we'll be able to give you a certificate of training at the completion of the course. We expect 80% completion in terms of class attendance and activity participation in order for you to earn that certificate of training. You've already enrolled, so I take it that that is fairly achieved. There are some of us who are not very conversant with the learning management system that we're using, and we apologize for having overlooked that particular issue. So we will be offering a brief training tomorrow at 4 p.m. on how to use the learning management system. how to do discussions and quizzes, because those are two very key features of the learning management system that we'll be using. So that said, I would like then to proceed to the first item on our 10-week agenda. And as I do so, I need to also mention that this event is a build-up activity for the Central Rift Innovation Week. So we're expecting that as to climax this particular engagement, we hope to see you all at the Central Rift Innovation Week, which will be happening in September. There's a Q&A forum available for you as we proceed with the presentation. Feel free to put in your questions there, and we'll be able to address them at the end of the class or the lesson. At some point, we are going to have some breakout sessions, and you're going to go to the learning management system to participate in a learning activity. So be ready, be at hand, log into the learning management system and just have it on standby. So an introduction to innovation. The objective of this particular session, this introductory session, is to try and clear the air around what is innovation. What is an invention and what is the difference between the two? We'll be calling upon you to give us examples from your experience and from your field. We'll be looking at what skills do you require for innovation, what is the innovation journey, and who is an innovator. That is the focus of our session today. So innovation, and I'm certain you have interacted with the term, means a lot of things to many people, but an idea that seems to have carried the day is that innovation is a new idea, a method, or device. Essentially, when you come up with a new way of doing things, oftentimes that is referred to as innovation. Developing new products, designs, ideas, etc. That is innovation. Innovation is more like, we've always done X in the following way. Can we try it in a different way? We've always used this implement for certain purposes. Can we use it for a different purpose? Or can we use a certain implement in a situation where we've never used it before? Can we change the process? Can we turn this around and see how it works? That is innovation. A little bit about what some people refer to as thinking outside the box, thinking in a new and fresh way. So there are many ways to think through innovation. And I want to go through what I'd call different perspectives of innovation. So in the red area, we have a way of looking at innovation as either a service, a business model, or a disruptive innovation. No? So, okay, let me start them up at the top. We can innovate a process or a service or a product. So when we think of a product, we come up with a new artifact. Like you've noticed, if you're familiar with improved cooking devices, improved jikos, those are improved devices, improved wheelbarrows and djembes and etc. So they exist. But some innovators come up with improved versions of these implements. Those are product innovations. Product innovations are also what you'd expect in, say, a bank. So they would tend to come up with new banking products, new financial products, new insurance products. You know, even the Hustler Fund itself can be counted in a way as an innovation, because the core product is a credit facility, but it has been reworked for a certain clientele to be able to take care of their specific situation. That's a product. You can innovate a process. You can change the way you do things. to make things faster. So for example, a recent innovation that's now almost normal is the introduction of a queuing system and the seating in banking halls in Kenya. Previously, you'd all have to queue in person, standing for as many hours as it took you to get to a teller. But today, you walk into a banking hall and you'll be asked to pick a ticket that identifies the service that you want to receive from that particular bank. And then you are prompted to then wait, and then you're called up. So process innovation. And for those of us who work in service industries, we tend to change processes a lot. Like, how do you check in customers? How do you receive customers? How do you process certain documents and things like that? We have another way of looking at innovation is a service innovation. So something that you've probably not done for your clients and you decide, let's introduce this and see whether we have better client satisfaction. For example, in the hospitality industry, you want to possibly introduce, say, a glass of juice for every client who comes in. You know, you want to add massage services, you want to add a gym, you know, and other such things, room service, you know. At some point, these things did not exist. But somebody thought, what if we have something called room service and we take food to the rooms, you know, and charge them nominal fee? You can change, you can innovate around a business model. So when you innovate around a business model, it's more like what has happened with M-Pesa. So a new way of transferring money, a new way of making payments. And that has also revolutionized the banking sector. Now we have mobile credit, we have mobile banking. So there's new ways of doing business that can also be categorized as innovation. Innovations can either be incremental or disruptive. So a disruptive innovation is one that takes off in a very short time and takes over an entire way of doing things. So at some point, think of social media. Literally came from nowhere to become a very dominant mode of communication and entertainment. It has totally changed the way we do communication and the way we entertain. On the other hand, we have incremental innovation. So incremental innovation is more of what happens with things like cars. We don't have a radically different motor vehicle in the market today. A lot of them still and will continue to feature an internal combustion engine. They'll continue to feature what we call the chassis. For example, they'll have the wheels, they'll have transmission system. So a lot of things remain fundamentally the same, but they go improving in slight bits over time. So the engine, the internal combustion engine, has moved from a carburetor kind of engine to an electronic fuel injection, to a variable transmission, I'm not sure what the TI stands for, the VVTI engine. So the engine remains fundamentally an internal combustion engine, but incrementally improved to be able to cater for more power and more efficiency. So we can also look at innovation from the perspective of it being an outcome driven. There's something we need to do for our customers, that there's a goal. So we innovate around the goal, achieving the goal. We can also innovate around the way an organization manages its resources. So for example, at some point you may want to introduce a shift or reduce a shift, add more people to a shift, maybe to increase the rate at which you're able to offer services to your customers. Then we have breakthrough kind of innovations. So this change totally the space or the prevailing way of doing things. So for example, when the telephone was invented, it did totally change the way we communicate. You know, we no longer communicate the same way. When the internet was also invented or developed, we changed totally the way we communicate also. So these are different ways of looking at innovation. And as we proceed, I want you to be thinking about your field and which of these things resonate with what you already experience in your field. On the flip side, an invention is the creation of a product for the first time. So for example, the first time that the light bulb was invented, nothing like it existed before. When we invented the wheel, nothing like it existed before. So when you invent, you come up with something that is totally new for the first time. However, a lot of the things we do today are called innovation because we bring in different components of things that already exist and use them in a new way or in a new context of a new problem. So for example, mobile applications. These were invented at some point. So somebody came up with the idea of a mobile application or an Android application for that matter. So the concept of the Android application is no longer new, but we innovate using the Android application in health, in education, in security, wherever we want to be able to get people to use their devices to access a service or to report or to get some information. We use a mobile application. So the mobile application, as it were, is no longer an invention, but now it is a platform for innovation. We are now, in a way, remixing existing technologies to come up with new solutions. That is innovation. But the first time that the mobile application occurred, that was an invention. The telephone we have these days is a little bit on both ends. Because when the telephone was invented, it was connected to other telephones via cable. But at some point, somebody invented a mobile phone. A totally new idea. Yes, building on a phone, but one that communicates not with cables, but over wireless media. So from that point onwards, we now have innovations. Apple has its own flavor. The Samsung has its own way. Huawei has its own way of doing things, but they're all fundamentally mobile phones. So what goes on today is a lot of innovation. So these are examples of innovations that change the way we live life. The wheel, the compass, the printing press. You know, at some point, books were all handwritten. The compass gave us a direction, the ability to determine directions. The wheel made it possible for us to put loads and move them easily over a flat surface. Penicillin for immunizations. At some point, that did not exist. The light bulb, the internal combustion engine, the contraceptive is an invention. The internet, nails, cement, and so on and so forth. So when you think about it, there are things that did not naturally occur in nature. And at some point, somebody came up with that idea for the first time, and that was an invention. So those are inventions. So at this point, I want to put us into breakout sessions in groups of about 5. And I would like you to do 2 things. One, I want you to share with the colleagues that you will be with in that room what is an example of an invention in your area or your discipline or study. And then I also want you to tell them about an innovation in your field. And when you're done with that, I also want you to go to the learning management system, to the relevant course, and post what you have shared with them. So indicate your discipline. So for example, I'm in agriculture. And we have an invention called the tractor, probably, if it's an invention. And we have an innovation called maybe a plow. Just that simple, and include some references if you can. The point of this particular exercise is for us to learn from each other, different perspectives of innovation from different fields. Probably, you may be thinking that there is no innovation in your field, but when you think a little bit about it, you will discover there is. Or you thought it's only your field, but when you hear from others, then you may realize that, oh, okay, so innovation does exist in all fields. So we have 15 minutes between now and 5:50 to do those two things. Then we come back briefly and conclude this particular presentation. So in groups of 5, accept the invite to join the breakout room. Accept the invite and join the breakout room and have those discussions. Join the breakout rooms. Fred and Tim, I see you've not joined. Fred Boithy, Tim Koskei, please join the breakout rooms. Time is up. I hope you had very interesting engagements. Maybe let me ask one person in every group to give us a few highlights of what you've just discussed. A volunteer, just a few highlights. You can raise your hand and I'll be able to call you out. We had 5 groups. Volunteer from any of those groups. Okay, am I audible?
Yes.
Sorry, since my audio was turned down, somebody confirm you can hear me now?
We can
Yes.
hear you.
We can hear you.
My apologies. Sorry, I think somebody was speaking. My audio must have been off. All right, some volunteer to share. Yes, Geoffrey. Yes, sorry. Geoffrey, go ahead.
Thank you, Dr. This was highlights from group 2, where we had a team of individuals from electrical, agriculture, education, and ICT. And I'll pick specifically one, also just to save on time, and that is in education that really came out well. And it is in terms of the invention of how education was being transmitted or when teaching and learning was being conducted. And the invention of it is using the chalkboard to be able to share or carry out the teaching and learning activity. And the invention part of it, we are able to see where now people are able to use things like whiteboard markers, which is erasable, which is less dusty and more healthier. And this one has even gone to a point where we are using projectors where it's been enabled by ICT, and as well as what we are doing right now, where learning doesn't have to be physical. We're able to attend learning virtually without necessarily being in class physically. Thank you.
Thank you. Great. Great. That must have been a very exciting discussion. Somebody else from another group, you want to share some highlights? Anybody else? I mean, several groups. Anybody can volunteer. I'm certain somebody was coordinating you.
I think from room 1, I can come in. My name is John Gila, and my training is on international business management. So part of the invention that is in business is money, which was invented sometime in the BC. And on the side of innovation, we had electronic commerce, which is an innovation that enables people to trade through the internet or online. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was quite insightful. Maybe one more group in the interest of time. Could it be that these groups did not discuss? Judith Mutemi.
Yes.
Some highlights from your group.
John Gila has already shared.
Okay. Just looking for a lady representative. Irene Kibati. Irene? Okay, so seems that most other groups did not discuss. Well, that would be sad. I hope you did not let your 15 minutes go by without learning. And congratulations to those who took time to make the discussion. It's a very important learning exercise in this program. So in future, kindly do take time to do the discussion, as well as to share with us some highlights when called upon. Now, I also hope you posted those same responses on the learning management system. We'll all be looking there to learn from each other. I want to move on to the next part of the presentation, where we want to focus on some critical skills for innovation. What does it take to innovate? 4 things: initiative, planning, creativity, and communication. And I'll take time to go through each of them. And as we go along, keep your questions coming in the chat or in the Q&A, especially in the Q&A. We'll be able to have a brief discussion when I'm done. An innovator must take initiative. They must not wait to be sent, to be told, to be asked to do something. Innovators take initiative. They have a certain intentionality around them. They work towards goals. You know, instead of waiting to be given tasks and activities by others, they're internally driven and motivated. You know, they have ambition, they have curiosity, they have determination. Their driving force is within. And they don't wait, they don't dilly-dally, they don't second guess, they're action-oriented. They move on and act quickly on ideas that come to mind. And in doing so, they're able to work through situations that are not clear, that are ambiguous, because when you innovate, it is not a path anybody else has traveled. You chart a new path. You know, you take risks, you identify problems, you formulate solutions together with others. And then ultimately, innovators take ownership and responsibility for their work and the outcomes and that of their teams. So that is initiative for an innovator. They're also planners. They set goals, they think ahead into the future. They give attainable goals. They're able to manage their tasks and projects and to break them down into smaller things and put timelines and deadlines to them. They're able to prioritize their activities so they know what comes before what, and they're able to get things going. Initiative and planning. The next thing they're able to do is that they're creative. They will think, they will come up with new ideas, they will have a bit of brainstorming with others. Another critical thing within the domain of creativity is empathy. They understand the behaviors, emotions, and motivations of others. They are good listeners, very keen observers, because they don't innovate for themselves. They innovate to solve challenges and problems that are faced by others. So they do take time to understand others. They have this ability to create mock-ups or prototypes or things that represent the actual solution, because they want to be able to communicate and words are not enough. So innovators are creative to the point that they will actually create something that represents the solution for purposes of communication and proof of concept. They must be persuasive. Along the journey, innovators need to sell an idea. They need to get funding. They need to get support. They need to get resources. They need to get somebody to buy the first product. And for that, they have to be persuasive speakers. They've got to be good at networking. You know, the ability to find the right people, build relationships with them, and move products to the next level. Then they also have the ability to give and receive feedback in a way that is quite, would I say, open, without taking offense and without getting personal. So innovators need this. And it's very important because sometimes you may find people who attack your idea, attack your person, or you may imagine that that's what they're doing, but in actual sense, they are actually meaning well. So innovators need to have the ability to be effective communicators, both in terms of the dissemination and the reception of that information. So I want to give you an example of some innovation journeys that I've been through. And the point of this part of this presentation is so that you may appreciate that innovation is not an overnight affair. It takes time. So the electronic voting information system developed at Kabarak University started in the year 2016. It's probably 7 years ago. But at that point, there were no resources, just an idea and students with time. But it was developed and tested. The idea was sold to the leadership of the university, and there was a test and then an offline electronic voting in 2018. And from 2019 onwards, the election has been fully online. And some early this year, of course, the product has been getting clients, but finally, we have an external paying client for this system. It's been a 7-year journey. Another one that is not yet over, that started in 2019, is a timetabling and class attendance system. The development began in 2019. And as at now, we are still testing it. We've been through high seasons, low seasons, and we are hoping to pilot, test. And hopefully, some point in the near future, we should be able to commercialize. So this is a journey that is ongoing. In 2017, an idea was hatched to be able to intervene in the case of the management of maternal health data. And to date, we've managed to pilot. Again, another 6-year journey with different components, different ups and downs. We've tested, we've fumbled a bit there. We've tested, we are now piloting. Sometimes we get stuck, but we keep going. So the idea behind these journeys is they start somewhere, but then they don't mature overnight. There's challenges that you face in the journey of innovation. Finding the right team and skill sets is not an easy thing. And this is an important part because you cannot innovate effectively alone. You can come up with the idea, conceptualize it, but it's highly unlikely that you would be able to walk this journey to its logical conclusion alone. Getting buy-in from people who must believe in you, decision makers, is also not easy. New things are sometimes not easy to sell to everybody. So that becomes a tough one when you want to sell, when you want to implement and test. Getting funding, because you definitely need money, is not also easy. It's a very interesting paradox that there's a lot of money out there for innovation and research, but yet we don't quite get it that easily. There's limited time to handle every aspect of innovation. As your innovation matures into a product, there's so much to do. There's marketing, there's intellectual property protection, there's staff to manage, there's resources, there's all those things. And that would be quite a drain on your time. Then the ultimate challenge is about intellectual property protection and registration. Ideas do get stolen, I can confirm. And one of the challenges innovators have is how to protect those ideas. Sometimes they talk too soon, talk to the wrong people without the right documents. So that is one of the other challenges that you are likely to face as an innovator. So then who are you? You, the innovator. You are somebody who is dissatisfied with the status quo. You ask questions like, must we always do it this way? Must this face this direction all the time? Must it always work the way it has always worked? You leverage on your circumstances and skills. You don't lament about what you don't have, but rather you focus on what you have and make the best of it. You don't wait to be told to start, you just get started anyhow. You really, really feel that this challenge, this problem, this solution must be arrived at. And you don't wait for anything. You will appreciate the strengths and skills of others because it is not possible for one person to have all the skills you need. You'll be an effective communicator to your team, to partners, to end users. You cannot say that all you know is technical. You really must know how to deal with people. You seek to make a difference, save a life, create a livelihood. You know, money is not the main, neither is it the ultimate goal. You also develop your skills continuously. You don't remain where you are all the time. Every single day you learn something new that will improve how you do things. You burn the midnight oil because there isn't enough time to work sometimes at your own pace, and some ideas are time-bound. You're persistent because there will be challenges. And if you are the kind that gives up very quickly, very easily, it is highly unlikely that we will be able to see your innovations in the market. So innovators are dissatisfied, they leverage, they get started, they appreciate other strengths and skills, They are good communicators. They want to make a difference. They are constantly improving their skills. They go the extra mile and they weather the storms. That's an innovator. Their DNA is that of association with the right people, with partners, with colleagues. It is that of questioning the status quo, the way things are done. It is that of collecting data from the environment, being very keen on what is going on and how people do things, of networking deliberately, meeting people, introducing yourself, and letting them know what you do and learning what they do and looking for points of convergence. It's about experimentation, trying things out. Prototype 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, even up to 20 before something begins to show any promise. So you've got to do all these things as an innovator. In summary, ladies and gentlemen, we can do it. It is possible. I don't know where you are at in your innovation journey, but this is something we can all do, irrespective of the field of practice or study that we are in. This is something we can definitely do. So allow me to stop at that point and take a few questions before we bring this to a close. So I see no questions so far in the Q&A or in the chat. Let me see. Yes. Dennis has remarked that originally biogas was developed in concrete structures, but now we use portable biogas systems. Thank you, Dennis. So waiting for comments, reactions, questions before we bring this to a close. Yes, Geoffrey?
There is a point of clarification.
Yes.
I just realized that if I was in the other class of Introduction to Innovation, and I had made some contributions, but when I checked the LMS, I found that they are the same discussions. Do I have to repost again right now or just continue the discussion? Thank you.
Please repost, give us something different. We are treating these two classes as different. We don't anticipate that you're in both. Actually, this is the only introductory lesson that is similar across both courses. From here, they'll be totally different, but I'm sure within the last few days, you have come up with something fresh that you can share in this forum too.
Noted, thank you.
Okay. Before I address logistical issues, I'm hoping that we can address some technical ones, like the subject of innovation. Any issues around innovation? We are getting to the technical ones shortly. Okay. But should you have any questions, feel free to ask as we go along. Now, onto the technical come operational matters. We did notice that not all of us are familiar with the learning management system. I had communicated regarding that, and I'll just post a link to the training on how to use the learning management system tomorrow. The training will be happening tomorrow at 4 o'clock. And I want to put the link here. We'll be teaching you how to use the discussion forum and also the quizzes, because next week we have a quiz. We're going to do our first quiz next week. So it is important that we know how to do those quizzes. So I'm posting this information in the chat. Ensure that you understand how to do that. So there is information for the training tomorrow at 4. Now, it's important because there's also a discussion. What you have just done is an in-class activity, meaning an activity within the class session. Now, there's a discussion forum that starts right away, and the instructions are on the learning management system, and they are simple. We have a question there, we have some instructions, and what you do is you respond to the question first, and then you engage 5 other colleagues on what they have posted. Yeah. So a good example is if we've asked the question that is it easier to innovate in some fields compared to others? It's a question. You have a position on that question. So you're going to say, yes, it is easier in some fields. And then you proceed to substantiate your yes. Why is it easier? And please elaborate on your answer, because we are using your response to learn. You're teaching us something. When you're done with your response, you probably have read a few things from somewhere. We expect you to put a link or two where you read what you've read, unless it's a lived experience. Then you read what others have contributed and contribute to them, ask them questions, probe them further, add some insights to what they have said. In other words, that forum is a great place for learning. And the learning is coming from all of you combined. You all know something. And when we bring it together, we learn more. We learn a lot from our different experiences and our different backgrounds. So the clear instructions on the learning management system, there are standards for how you respond. Make sure it's something useful, helpful, respectful, and polite. That's what we're looking for in that discussion forum. Read what people are posting. That is where a lot of the learning is. So for this particular group, next week, we move on to our second topic, which is the types of innovation hubs. There's, from my reading, over 20 plus different kinds of innovation hubs. So it's not just an innovation hub. There's quite a number of different types, and that's what we'll be focusing on. We'll be bringing in some other people to facilitate, not just myself, and we'll let you know in due course as we proceed with the course. Geoffrey, the e-learning training is not mandatory. It is only offered to those who don't have prior experience and wish to gain that experience on how to participate in the discussions as well as the quizzes. So remember, 80% attendance of class or these training sessions as well as the activities. For example, the exercise you just did is one of those activities. The discussion forum coming is another activity. The quiz will be another activity, and we shall have a discussion forum every single week for the 10 weeks. By then, you should now have become a very good discussant online. Thank you. So the time for the e-learning training is 4, not 5 p.m. It's 4 p.m. All right, any other questions or concerns regarding innovation itself or the logistics of the course?
I have a question.
Yes.
Will you send us the slides? Or
I'm putting up the slides on the learning management system.
okay, thank you.
So we really must know how to use the learning management system. So in a few minutes, both will be on there. Okay. There will be no further question, I could ask a volunteer to close for us with a prayer. Derek Madrin. Picking people at random.